What is going on, Falcon fans? Welcome to the 95 North Falcons talk show. I'm your host, Berto. MIA today. Not with me is my guy, Bro Talk, but man, I'm just riding solo for this post-game reaction. We just witnessed the game go final just a little bit ago. Falcons dropping this game to the Detroit Lions for a tune of 17-10. But before we get into the game and any specifics, man, just thoughts and prayers to the defensive back there from the Detroit Lions, man, Maurice Norris, man, took an injury, took a bad injury there on the field, and the NFL world decided to, postpone the game in efforts to, protect the players a little bit more. So I definitely respect that and the integrity behind the NFL and their metric to go on and ensure more player safety going forward. Prayers to those affected and those that are going through any pain witnessing their loved one right now, Norris, the cornerback there, being hurt. But shout out to those that are in the chat. Skylar, Grum, Make Way Sports, what's going on? Rod, what is going on, everybody, man? Prayers for real, for real. They do definitely go out, man. But yes, the game within the game, the Atlanta Falcons, we saw some preseason action this very evening, man. But it was defense, man. It was defense. And before the game started, there was a metric shown where the Falcons defense and where they finished in the sack department. And I'm going to review that right quick. So in 2021, they finished 32nd. And from 2022 all the way to last year, 2024, finished 31st in the league. Falcons' full effort this offseason was to get the defense right and add playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, add edge rushers. And God damn it, it was on display today. Some of the sacks came from our vets. And, pressures did come from the rooks. But speaking of the rooks, James Pierce Jr. was on display. So was Jalen Walker as well, man. James Pierce Jr., man, this kid's going to be a menace. He's going to be a force, man. And I'm not trying to sound biased by any means. And when I tell you that, but some things that I loved about James Pierce Jr. in his game, man, his hand usage, it's so on point, man. You saw the would-be tackles really try to engage with James Pierce Jr., and he wasn't having any of it. He disengages very well, and it came to a point where, man, so much respect was shown to James Pierce Jr. They started chipping him and double blocking him on the edge there. Obviously, in those situations led to the interior of this Falcons defensive line to eat, more particularly Brandon fucking Dorless. We've been waiting for Brandon Dorless to show, and God damn it, he got his opportunity, and did he make the most of it? Last year, well, you can call him a healthy scratch. You can say that he wasn't learning the playbook, whatever the notion was for Brandon Dorless. While his snaps were limited, it didn't show this year, and it shows that he's a favorite, or he shows that he loves what this defense and this attack style front has to offer. He did bring up an interesting quote that he stole from Jesus Christ, our defensive line coach there, Nate Ollie. He said, if you're thinking, you stink. Shit, I just went through a brain fart, but don't say that I do. But yeah, man, you could definitely tell that this Falcons defensive line is coming to play. There's no games being played on this Falcons defensive line. But before I go into any more, let's shout out some more folks in the chat. Justin Swisher, Sweets, what's going on, man? Big boy Brewski, appreciate the $4.99 bid, man. Appreciate that so much, man. He says, how about the defense? Yes, man, the defense did come up, and they came out and showed out, man. We got sacks from Arnold Ebiketie, and we saw a lot of what Arnold Ebiketie did this offseason. He's been posting clips of his workouts and whatnot, and man, he's putting it all on display. He got a sack from the 5 technique spot, really showing that downhill speed that he possesses. I know a lot of the sacks that he had last year came from those wide alignments, man. So hopefully, that's a thing to come going into this year, is having him exclusively lined a little bit further away from the tackle so he can get a running start and use that speed to translate to sacks, man. Justin says, what's up, Berto? Dorless and TQ Graham, we're dominating, and that's so refreshing to see, man. Taquan Graham was active, did stuff the run a couple times. I believe he did get a sack and a fumble. Yeah. He also fumble recovery on a sack. Well, he recovered a fumble on a sack, on a strip sack. I think the strip sack that Brandon Dorless did, TQ Graham was the recipient of the fumble recovery. But yeah, man, it was so good to watch him and see him play. Play some good ball. Last year we did lose Taquan Graham to a pectoral injury or an upper body injury, and he was playing pretty good before that happened to him. So it's good to see him back on the field and doing his thing. Another guy that we have to highlight, on the defensive side, there's a couple guys that we have to highlight on this defense, man. And that fucking hitman Helms, man, DeMarco Helms, man. The man is back. He's playing with a vengeance, man. It's great to see him. It's great to see him back. It's great to see him play. Obviously, we all know we lost DeMarco Helms in our very first preseason game last year against the Dolphins. This one making his return, starting. He played well. Falcons running some 3 safety looks, man. And shit, man, if NFL teams are daring to even throw to the middle of that defense, just rest assured that DeMarco is going to be there patrolling, making, the alignments really more interesting because DeMarco, not really known for his coverage ability, more for his hit stick, him hitting and just disengaging ball carries and would-be pass catchers could play, vie for some playing time in certain looks, man. So it was good to see him on the field, man. Billy Bowman was on display as well. The nickelback there, he's in a battle right now with D. Alford. Now, D. Alford, unfortunately, did give up a touchdown. And, and what can we say, right? It's the liability in the red zone and D. Alford. The height is everything. And, most NFL packages, on the offense or red zone do trot out their bigger guys, of course, to look at any mismatches. Now, maybe there's something where, Alford is not a part of that situation going forward. But, if they continue trotting him out in those situations, he's just going to be a major, major liability for our Falcons. But Billy Bowman played great. Very physical, was in the backfield, making tackles, was flying all around the field. So it was good to see him, get his footing under him. Xavier Watts, I didn't really see too much from Watts. I know him and Fuller, obviously in that would-be starter competition. So I'm not going to touch on that too much. But I will say that D'Angelo Malone, our once edge defender, now converted to inside linebacker, was there, and he was making plays. He was part of that Brandon Dorless, strip sack situation at the beginning of the game. It was one of them two that created. I believe it was D'Angelo that got in, and Brandon finished up. But needless to say, man, D'Angelo Malone was there flying all around, and and it could be a blessing in disguise making a transition to inside linebacker. We have some injuries right there that we have to talk about. JD Bertan, he's nursing I believe a head injury. Of course, we all know Troy Anderson. So there's really not a lot of depth behind in that middle linebacking room right now. Josh Woods was another defender that was playing, and he played really well also, man. He played good. He was flying around the ball. He was around the ball at all times. He was flying all around the field. So it was great to see the speed on display for this Falcons defense. Continuing the trend on the defense. Listen, man, I know that Lamar Jackson, he'll probably get jumped on for giving up that long reception. But otherwise, he played a pretty solid game at the cornerback spot. And it was at one point, I think one of the reporters were mentioning how Jerry Gray likes the young cornerback. Unfortunately, yeah, he gave up that long play. But otherwise, man, he played pretty good. But who played even better was opposite side him, was Natron Brooks, man. Natron Brooks blitzing from the corner, chasing would-be ball carriers on the backside, coming up to make the tackle. Just good in coverage. His coverage was sticky, and it was great throughout the night. Didn't really give up too many big plays. Was hip to hip with most receivers. But Natron Brooks, another guy, man, just trying to make a name for himself. Last year, he displayed how good he was in the preseason. He didn't make the team, which left a lot of us scratching our heads. But obviously, he was recruited in the practice squad. But hopefully this year, man, it's neither one of those situations, and he actually makes the roster. Rod goes up to say, yeah, Helms, my boy, absolutely, man. 5 pressures from James Pierce Jr. Yes, he was being double teamed, man. Absolutely. What's going on, bro? Everything is good, man. Appreciate you joining the post game. My boy Damon Deuce, what's going on? Yeah, prayers to Norris, man. 4-2-5 was in effect. It certainly was, man. And we were getting there with just 4 defensive linemen. That's an incredible sight to see, man. Love that. Update from Campbell. He's breathing, he's talking, he's got some movement, and now they're running some tests, man. I'm so glad to hear that, man. Obviously, anytime a player is down for any length of time is definitely worrisome. The NFL world has seen some scary injuries on field, man. So we're definitely trying to keep our players a little bit more protected. DSGB Hall, what's going on? Helm said, "Don't count me out." What an outing for him. 100%. The whole defense was absolutely humming and buzzing, man. I love to see it, man. Kenny, what's going on, man? All is good. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you are here, man. So let's flip the switch now to the offensive side, covering the defense. And please, if you want to talk anything else about the defense, just drop it in the chat, man, and we'll get right to it. But on the offense side, of course, we saw Easton Stick play. And let's bring up the stat line right quick for Easton Stick. $15 of 18, 149 yards, 1 touchdown. He did take 1 sack. That 1 touchdown was an impressive throw on a go route to Chris Blair. Dropped it right in the basket. You couldn't ask for a better ball to be placed in the hands of Chris Blair. Easton Stick delivered that, man. The young man played a solid half of football. Emory Jones, unfortunately, got his time cut as the third quarter came to a beginning and end, where, as we all know, the game ended. 4 for 5, 49 yards. Did have a nice little scramble there. And Emory Jones, man, found a connection with Nick Nash, who we'll touch on in just a moment. But let's just kill whatever narrative may begin from this Easton Stick performance. No, he will not make Kirk Cousins expendable. So let's not touch on that, man. But nice to see these two guys battling it out for that third quarterback's spot. Of course, Easton started the game, was a little shaky, was playing a little bit nervous, but then he settled down. Everything settled down for him, and he was able to make some great throws. And he found a very reliable target early and often in the form of Dylan Drummond on 8 targets, 8 receptions, 63 yards. The young wide receiver, man, was making a name for himself, flying all around the field, making good catches, good speed on him, great hands. He's making a claim, man. Listen, man, don't overlook me for that 4th or 5th receiver spot on this Falcons team. Chris Blair, as I mentioned, the recipient of the touchdown, was there, had a nice over the shoulder catch as well up the sideline. So the Falcons got some wide receivers here, man, that they're gonna be fighting all the way till the end, man. Unfortunately, one of these guys are going to be on the outside looking in, and hopefully they can either tag along with another team or just make it on the practice squad. But Nick Nash, like I mentioned, had a nice little, rapport there with Emory Jones. And Nick Nash, one of my favorites, so hopefully in a roster hopeful, 3 catches on all 3 targets, 35 yards. David Sills also looked decent. I know the targets and the receptions don't, really won't wow you. But still, he was a fluid receiver on the field and, made that nice contested catch for 15 yards. But otherwise, nothing to, nothing to write home about is in terms of everybody that was active for the game. Nobody really else stood out on the wide receiver front other than those 4 guys. Josh Simon, the undrafted tight end out of South Carolina, chipped in with 9 yards. And that's really as far as it goes. And then we go now to the kicking. Lenny Craig, he has a big leg. He made a 57-yarder, and then he missed I believe a 53-yarder. So we'll see what the rest of the preseason shows. Obviously, Younghoe Koo not dressed for tonight's action, so we saw Lenny Craig. But it's good practice for the kid, right? Could the Falcons elect to keep 2 kickers? As we all know, Koo missed, I think, like 9 kicks last year. Lenny Craig, if he fixes some of his mistakes, hopefully he can, tag along and stay on this Falcons ball club, man. But I doubt they'll carry 2 kickers. But needless to say, man, it is what it is. on that front. And really, yeah, man, I think the defense is worth talking about the rest of the way, man. This Falcons defense really was really was cooking this evening, man. Yeah, Carrie, what is going on? Two words, Hitman Helms, man. He's the talk of Twitter, talk of Falcons. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Kenny says, no controversy. What you mean, bro? Your boy Stick was out there looking like the next Brett Favre. Oh, man, shit. They will trade his ass, not Kirk, man. Loved watching the Falcons defense tonight. Looked so good. Yeah, man. They're obviously buying into the system. You know, they're buying into everything that Jeff Ulbrich and company are selling. The energy, you know, the camaraderie is everything is there, man, for this Falcons team, man. I'm loving it, man. I just can't wait to see the ones really there and show what they can do under this Ulbrich system. I didn't see too much of Braylon Trice. I know that's a name that was being asked about. Nor Clark Phillips. I didn't see him either. I don't know if he's nursing anything. I didn't hear anything. I haven't seen anything either. So if anybody has an update on Phillips, please feel free to drop it in the comment section there. But no, I didn't hear anything from him. It would have been good to see him. I know when I was in camp a couple weeks back, the brother was running with the threes. You know, several other corners at the time were ahead of Clark Phillips. But let's see. Yeah, I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it thus far. You know, hopefully this next preseason game unveils a little bit more. Maybe some of the ones might get infused into this next one. You know, I really want to see more of Rook Oroho. I want to see more of Morgan Fox. Although we did see them, you know, it was just on a limited basis. I know they were rotating a lot of LaCale London and Taquan Graham. I didn't see Simeon Barrow Jr. I may have missed him, but Simeon Barrow Jr. was making some waves in training camp as an undrafted free agent from Miami, the U. So I wanted to see him, but just didn't really get the opportunity to witness what he brought to the table. So this next preseason game, hopefully the Falcons do open up a little bit more in terms of letting certain players play, and you know just to see how much of this defense, you know, to see how better this defense looks going into preseason game 2, man. But then, yeah, man, just continue dropping those comments, man. Appreciate everybody coming through this evening. We got some Falcons football, y'all. Yes, of course, for those that are joining late, Falcons did lose this one 17-10. The game was called in the fourth quarter due to a injury. Some other stuff too. That's the other player that got a sack. Khalid Kareem got the other sack, man. That's another player, man, that's been making, you know, some quiet noise in Falcons camp. He got in on a sack. Rod says, I think we need some DTs and nose tackles. I don't know about a nose tackle. I don't think that this Jeff Ulbrich system requires a nose tackle. DTs, depending on how this preseason shapes out, maybe they can add a one of those roster cuts in the weeks to come. But otherwise, right now, I think the Falcons are sold on what they have on hand. And obviously, you know, seeing if a kid like Simeon Barrow can make, you know, climb the ranks and try to carve out some playing time of his own. You know, and what we need to know about Barrow Jr. is, you know, he's a bit undersized. He's like 6'1", but he just fits what Grady Jarrett was for our defense last year. That's exactly what Simon Barrow brings to the table, just with a little bit more length. The arms are a little bit longer than Grady's, but the disruption, you know, and just the overall relentlessness is there from that young man. I just hope that I was hoping that we saw that a little bit more on display. What about Brandon Dorless? He was making some noise in the middle. He for sure was, and this attack style front is exactly his calling because he's such a like a high energy defensive tackle that, again, you know, he uses his hands very well. He disengages really good, and you know he's, you know, at times depending on the matchup, he could be unblockable, man. He's that kind of guy, man. You know, we saw it from him in Oregon. You know, the Oregon Ducks used him up and down the defensive line as a wide 9, as a nose, as a 3 technique, as a 5 technique. wherever they lined him up, they just told him, "Hey, man, listen, this is your assignment. Just go, hit it and go." And that's exactly what Brandon did this evening when he drew those one-on-one assignments. He made the most of them and he won. So I loved what I saw from Brandon early and often. Paul, saludo desde la Isla del Encanto, my brother. Appreciate you joining us de Puerto Rico. Rise up. The defense looks very aggressive. Love it. These are moments that we've been waiting for, man. Paul, we've been waiting for this for so many years, man. And I'm confident to say I think it's here. It's arriving, man. This Ulbrich system is going to be fun to watch. Romero, what's going on, man? So we're playing that 4-2. Yeah, man. Yeah, 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Yep. And you can run a variety of looks off of that. But just the humbling part for me is watching the front 4 get after it and get after it consistently. So that's refreshing to hear. I know it's against the Lions twos, but I don't give a shit about any of that, man. You got to line up and you got to play and you got to make the most out of the opportunity, man. We rarely use 3-4. Yeah, we don't have the size to play it. We have the speed. So that might be a mismatch in itself. If we do trot out a 3-4, rest assured the big guys are gonna be out there. The Kale Londons, if he makes the roster, the Taquan Grahams, he's gonna be out there. So maybe Simeon Barrow, maybe Rook and things like that. So I don't think we'll do a lot of things in that formation. We're more of a 4-2-5, 4-3 look type deal team. Nickel, big nickel, things of that nature. So yeah, man. One takeaway from you guys in the chat, if you guys want to drop it, man. What was your biggest impression this evening on the Atlanta Falcons team? For me, it was the energy this team played from the beginning to the end. It definitely, this defense looks worlds better from last year on the James Lake in his scheme, which lost a lot of players, schematically. That I think it was like 2-4-5 look that we used to run under Jimmy, man. Really lost a lot of the defensive linemen, really wore them out. And this year, with that 4-2-5 look thus far, man, it looks like the heavy rotation is going to pay off. Zach Harrison, that's another player that got some burn this evening. We didn't get to see a lot of him, but I'm sure that as the preseason goes up, we're gonna ramp up. We're gonna ramp up his usage as well. Brian H. Since Craig is an international player, he won't count against the 53. That's what it was. Okay, so absolutely, he won't be cut, so he will be on the team. That great point. Thank you for bringing that up, Brian. But yeah, man. Otherwise, man, we got some Falcons football this evening. It was great. We're back. We are so back, man. So hopefully some things that we can carry on to our next preseason game, of course, seeing what more we can get out of this defense, what other looks Coach Ulbrich may want to show. I'm sure he's going to be very coy on what he trots out. Just continue to see the development from the rookies, Jalen and James Pierce Jr., and the defensive backs, Watts and Billy Bowman, of course. That's going to be the reoccurring theme from now until the beginning of the season or the ending of preseason. Just watching the continuing development of those guys. Offensively, yeah, the ones are not going to be there. Just let's see who stands out or who makes the most out of their situation in certain spots. We saw 4 guys really, go after it. Dylan Drummond, David Sills, Nick Nash, Chris Blair. Those guys, I think they put on a decent showing for the offense. Let's see if Easton Stick can continue his precise passing on this Falcons offense. Did show that he had a decent arm, pretty accurate young little quarterback there. Let's see if he can continue his growth and potentially gaining that quarterback 3 spot. But in this next one, I wish that they would flop it, give Emory Jones an extensive burn because he did miss out. Emory Jones is no pushover neither. He's a dual threat quarterback, can do it with his legs, and also has a big arm as well. So I'm hoping that we get to see him at least, see what he can bring to the table and make that that competition or that battle a little bit more interesting. And yeah, continuing the development also of our young offensive linemen. We've got to see Jack Nelson this evening. He looked rough a little bit in the beginning, and then I think he settled down and did pretty good. Brandon Parker was out there. Javon Gwynn, who's been a consistent Falcon, being on the practice squad. Hopefully, he makes it again. Michael Gonzalez was out there, guard center, kid out of Louisville. So, hopefully, a lot of these guys get to make a name for themselves in some way. So, yeah, until then, man, I'm going to go, man. That's all I got for right now, man. Tune in Wednesday at 9 p.m. Myself and Bro Talk will have another recap and a preview to our next game, next preseason game. And if you want to, man, follow me on Bleacher Report under Berto95 North. I just finished giving my post-game analysis and reaction on the platform. Also, you can catch me on the Roundtable Sports every Tuesday at 8 p.m. I know we're going to have a spirited conversation again this week, especially because of this Falcons team loss. But nevertheless, it's going to be fun. It's going to be full of charisma. You name it, we're going to bring it. Well, hopefully we see you there. That's NFC South Roundtable live this Tuesday at 8 p.m. But until then, I'll give you a Friday evening back. Enjoy it. Appreciate everybody that came through. I'll talk to y'all soon, man. Peace.